Hello, hello, hello. Welcome everyone to a Self-Teaching and Learning series of webinars brought to you by our international team. I'm Eva Tatarova, the Chief Manager of Self-Teaching and Learning. And yeah, we're going to enjoy a wonderful webinar in a moment. And to be honest, I'm super excited about it. This is an event where teachers from all over the world joining us. And I want to say good day to you, whatever time zone you're in. So here's my first instruction for you. Go to the chat and type in what country and what city you are from. And it'll be kind of interesting for us to see where everyone's coming in from. And also, this chat box is going to be available through the entire event. So if you have questions, type them in and we'll try to answer those at the end of the webinar. And yeah, while you are typing, I'd like to start by thanking all teachers, teacher trainers, and educators who've joined us for the webinar. We know you are extremely busy these days, and we deeply appreciate that you're spending time with us. So while people join, I'd like to remind you about our upcoming events. So first and foremost, I'm proud to announce that this coming Sunday, the 28th of March, we start the 25-hour TKT preparation course for modules 2 and 3. I'm pretty sure that almost every teacher has had an idea to get a certain solution, a certain toolkit, as well as internationally recognized qualification, which may ease your teaching life, save you time, and help achieve better results. And here it is. This course is for anyone who would like to be prepared by Cambridge Delta Delta tutors, Mr. Paul Harvey from the UK and Ms. Rashida Gilzim from Morocco. In modules 2 and 3 of the TKT course, you deal with planning for teaching and classroom management. The purpose of these two parts to introduce you to the basic principles of good lesson planning and to introduce you to the primary aspects of classroom management. Inside the course, you'll have access to 8 training sessions, 3 hours each. You literally get everything you need to turn your course experience into your highest TKT exam bands. In this course, everything is included. You don't have to figure it out yourself. You don't have to Google and spend your priceless time. You just get the methodology and strategies, and you just learn from pro. I believe I should highlight, this is not a pre-recorded course. So Zoom platform will be our digital home during 4 course weeks. And you're more than welcome. Yeah, hello everyone. I can see Turkey, Ukraine. Thank you, Ternopil. Okay, and the next one, this is my question for you for today. Just look at this slide and you can see the question mark. So listening is the skill in second language learning. So please type in the chat box, what do you think should be put instead of that question mark? I'm pretty sure you know this phrase. And as you can see, for many years, listening skills were not prioritized in language teaching. Teaching methods emphasized productive skills, and the relationship between receptive and productive skills was poorly understood. These are the words by Rosalie Serra from Brazil. So what do you think, what should be put instead of the question mark? Hello, Georgia, Pakistan, Kazakhstan. So nice to see you, all of you here, India. Yeah, so I can't see the answers. I know that we have some kind of delay. So, and you're still introducing yourselves. Anyway, I'd like to continue. I'm pretty sure you know the idea. And this is my honor to invite those who are interested in exploring the role and importance of listening in communication to join our workshop on Zoom, which is designed and will be run by one of the top trainers from Argentina, Patricia Arbona. According to the workshop outline, you will strengthen skills for listening fully and holistically. You'll identify the impact of non-verbal and paralinguistic behavior on decoding messages. You'll incorporate listening-based techniques that will allow you to teach listening more creatively and productively. So we'll be more than happy to see you there. And before we get down to business, I have to remind you again about a couple of housekeeping details. If you have questions you want to ask the presenter, please write them in the chat box. He will answer as many as possible at the end of his presentation. And here we are. To be honest, I believe that we are fortunate to have this legendary ELT leader today. A teacher, storyteller, international conference speaker, British Council Award winner, Oxford University Press author, developer of video telling, the founder of Lesson Stream, which is an amazing, I would say, very helpful international community for teachers and educators. So, we are ready to dive in, aren't we? I'd like to invite our presenter to this virtual stage. Meet Mr. Jamie Keddie. Hello.
Hello, Eva. How are you this evening? Hello, everybody. Lovely to be here.
Hello. As you can see, so many people came just to enjoy your webinar. And we have Tunisia, we have Georgia, Kazakhstan, Ukraine, India, Azerbaijan, and I can see so many countries. Hello, guys, Slovakia, German.
Absolutely fantastic from all over. You've done a great job here. Lovely to see everybody. And thank you for inviting me, Eva. It's a big pleasure to be here.
So let's get down to business. I'm going to give you the floor. I wish you luck, and we are all ears.
Perfect. So if I'm not mistaken, yes, please do.
Should I add your presentation?
Yeah, why not? Why not? Eva and I have been practicing. I don't think there's any problem with telling them, Eva, have we? We've been practicing, so we've got several views. So let's just give this a little shot, shall we? How do you feel about that, Eva?
Okay.
Let's try this. Okay, so Jamie full screen. Okay, how about minimize Jamie? Yes, that's perfect. Maximize Jamie, so we still have the presentation. Perfect. If I'm not mistaken, from what I understand, there's a bit of a delay here. So you see me, but this is Jamie from 10 seconds ago, 15 seconds ago. Is that right? So in fact, you've got to remember during this session that I am in fact 10 seconds older than I look, which has quite a big difference, okay?
Sounds perfect. Okay. So I'm waiting for your instructions. Should I hide myself? And are you ready to start? I'm pretty sure that's everyone.
Yeah, I reckon so. Yeah.
So see you in 1 hour.
See you in 1 hour. Thank you so much, Eva. Thank you very much. Yes, thank you so much, Eva, and thank you everybody for being here. And I'm going to be asking questions, but I believe that there's a time delay, so I'll make sure that I bear that in mind and maybe try and ask a question and then just try and fill that 10 seconds with, I don't know, maybe nonsense. Who's to say? So this is a session all about picture telling. But before we get involved, let me just introduce myself a bit. I wonder if you know where this accent comes from. This accent that you should be able to hear coming from this mouth through this microphone. By the way, this is a brand new microphone. What do you think of that? Just got it yesterday, thanks to Amazon Prime. Coming this mouth, this microphone, through my computer, through some cables and maybe some internet in the air. Who knows? Who understands these things? And to you, what do you think this accent is? Where do you think this accent comes from? Tamar says Scotland. And Tamar, hello Tamar, is absolutely right. This is an accent that has come all the way from Scotland to be with you. And I'm actually based not in Scotland, but I'm based in Barcelona. So that behind me, beyond my bookshelf and beyond that wall there, is Barcelona. I live in one of the busiest streets in the city. In fact, that's why I had to buy a new microphone, so all the traffic sounds wouldn't come into this presentation. So let me tell you a few things. What else? I've written 2 books for OUP. I wonder if you know either of these books. These kind of represent my passions, or maybe my early passions as a teacher and a teacher trainer. You know, teachers and teacher trainers, we've all got our things, haven't we? Some teachers like pronunciation, some like grammar. So Eva's just shown us, introduced us to a fantastic looking session on listening. And my things were always image and video. I think it happened with the internet. Do you remember the internet in its early days was very much text-based, very, very text-based, very little in the way of visuals. But then suddenly, when bandwidths increased, the internet started to get visual. And there was more images, non-moving images, that is. And I think that's maybe when I started to get involved in images, and I wrote this book. And then, of course, YouTube came along and we had video, online video. I wrote this book. But then one day I learned something about myself. I discovered that, in fact, it had never really been about images. It had never really been about video. It had always been about story. And so this is my thing. I am very much... I'm very passionate and very interested in ways that teacher can make use of story to engage students and get them doing stuff. And so we might be talking about images, we might be talking about videos, but my feeling is that teachers love images for the classroom. They love videos for the classroom because they offer a constant stream of stories. And a couple of years ago, I wrote this book. I wonder if any of you have this book, or if any of you have seen it or used it. This is a book. It's a book of short stories, 45 short stories, each story based on a YouTube video. And I think this is my favorite book so far. Hello there, Mexico. Justin, lovely to see you here. And Turkey and Moldova. So, what else do I have? I have a website that Eva mentioned called Lesson Stream, where stories are your best lesson plans. And I also run a community called the Lesson Stream Membership, which I'll give you some information about later on. There's going to be a handout for this session, and we have a link for you. Eva's got the link, and some point in this webinar, Eva's going to... I've got this habit of calling Eva, because it's a Spanish way, but I know that's wrong. So apologies, Eva, for turning your V into a B. My bad habit. So Eva's got the link that she's going to drop into the chat so that you'll be able to download the handout. And also, the last thing to tell you that I have for you before we get on with the show is that twice a month, I send out what's called the Lesson Stream Post. And the Lesson Stream Post is a story or storytelling idea straight to your inbox every other Sunday. So when Eva drops in the link for the handout, there will also be the possibility to sign up for my Lesson Stream Post. Okay, I'm going to ask Eva if she could kindly maximize Jamie, please. No. Sorry. Minimize the slideshow so that the slideshow and Jamie are still in view, but the slideshow is small and Jamie is big. I wonder if any of you know this film. Have you seen this film before? Do you know this actor? This actor's name is Adrian Brody. And it's a film about a supply teacher. So a teacher that's got this part-time job in this school, working with these kids. Obviously, the interaction he has with them is temporary because he's a supply teacher, but it's enough to really impact the kids' lives, you see. And there's a key scene that I really like, that I feel starts off this session on picture telling very, very well. Because what the teacher does, you see, he picks up a piece of chalk and he goes over to the blackboard and he writes the word assimilate. 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 And he says, who can tell me, who can tell us what assimilate means? And this girl puts up her hand and she says, taking everything in. And the teacher says, exactly. Absorbing. To assimilate is to absorb. To assimilate is to take everything in. Then he writes a second word, and the second word is ubiquitous. Ubiquitous. He says, who can tell me what ubiquitous means? And the same girl puts up her hand, and she says, everywhere, all of the time. And the teacher says, excellent. Ubiquitous, everywhere, all of the time. So, who can tell me what ubiquitous assimilation means? And at this point, the teacher does that thing that teachers sometimes do. He goes like that. Like my favorite emoji, you know. He does it very exaggerated. So who can tell us what ubiquitous assimilation means? And this time it's George puts up his hand and he says, taking in everything all of the time. Taking in everything all of the time. And the teacher says, well done, George. Excellent. And then the teacher delivers what I think is the killer line. He says, how are you to imagine anything if the images are always provided for you? How are you to imagine anything if the images are always provided for you? I really, really like this. I really like this as a thought, as an idea. How are you to imagine anything if the images are already provided for you? There's nothing wrong with being surrounded by images, images of art, for example, beautiful images, images that inform and images that inspire, images that motivate, but sometimes, unfortunately, there's just too many images coming from the minds and the offices of marketers that are out to try to persuade you and change your behavior and try to sell to you and maybe try to, not try to, but inadvertently instill these ideas into you, whether you want them there or not, of, you have to be beautiful to be happy, that kind of thing. And so if the images are always there informing us, how are we to imagine anything? So this session is the antithesis to that. And I have 3 activities for you. We're going to move through them one at a time. Obviously, couldn't give you them all at once, could I? And they're interactive, so I'm going to invite you to get involved in the chat with this 10-second delay. And the first image is the first activity is, it involves a wildlife image. A wildlife image, you see? Now, the thing is that I suppose that when teachers use images in the classroom, there's a tendency, and I'm right, we show the image first and then we ask the questions later. So we pop, the image comes up there, and then we ask questions. Now, picture telling reverses that process. We withhold the image. We withhold the image, and that's what I'm going to do, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Let me take you through this activity. Now, what you're about to see on the screen is what I like to call a story pathway. And a story pathway, a very simple idea. It's a pathway of words or phrases going in the right order, the correct order, from start to end, from beginning to finish, that your students are going to hear in the story. And I say story, but maybe I should say in the picture telling. Now, in a picture telling activity, the teacher, it's usually the teacher, but not always a teacher, but if it's a teacher-led picture telling activity, it starts with the teacher with an image in hand. In this case, it's displayed on my mobile phone. So I'm going to describe it to you. I'm going to communicate the narrative of this image as a storyteller would. All you have to do is listen and imagine. So it's very simple. But there is a task, a listening task. And I guess the listening task, I wonder actually if you can guess the listening task. I'll tell you that I'm looking at a wildlife image. You can see some of the language there in the story pathway that you're going to hear. Something's missing. That provides us with a task. What is the task? Don't worry about the task. That will become apparent, all right? Okay, let me tell you about this image. Fantastic image, this. I absolutely love this image. I'm looking at it right now. I've looked at this image so many times. I've spent so much time looking at this image. That's how much I love it. And it's, as I've mentioned already, it's a wildlife photograph. And I suppose you could call it a close-up of a brilliant green leaf. So not far away, but close up. And this is the noun, a close-up of a brilliant green leaf. Now, this brilliant green leaf is covered with raindrops. And you know what? These raindrops on the leaf, they look like little glass balls. And inside one of these little glass balls, or rather raindrops, inside one of these raindrops, there is a tiny creature. It looks quite happy, chilling out in its raindrop. Maybe it feels safe and protected, at peace with the world. Who knows? Or maybe not. What do I know? Maybe it feels sad and lonely. Maybe it feels anxious and worried about the state of the planet. You know, when I look at this picture, I wonder, how did this creature get in there? How did it get inside this raindrop? Did it crawl in? Or perhaps, like the song, you know, raindrops keep falling on my head. Perhaps this raindrop fell on the tiny creature's head. And I wonder, how long can it stay there before this raindrop dries up? How long has it got? And you know what this task is, don't you? The task is quite simply, can you guess what this creature is? What is the creature? And the great thing is, you know, I didn't give you the task to start with. I'm going to guess you were already thinking that. Maybe if you were students, you might not have quite managed to process the language adequately enough to identify the task. So don't worry. That gives us a good opportunity to go through the story again. You know, this time I've got a wildlife image. It involves a tiny creature. You've got to guess what the tiny creature is, because I'm not going to tell you. It's a wildlife photograph. It's a close-up of a brilliant green leaf. A brilliant green leaf. Chat, put your ideas in the chat, by the way, if you can guess what this tiny creature is. This brilliant green leaf is covered with raindrops. And inside one of these raindrops, which look like little glass balls, there's a tiny creature. Tiny creature. It looks quite happy, I think, chilling out in its raindrop. Maybe it feels safe and protected, you know, at peace with the world, like a little Buddhist. Who's to say? Or maybe not. Maybe it feels sad and lonely, anxious and worried about the state of the planet. And as I look at this picture and as I contemplate this tiny creature, I wonder, how did it get in there? How long can it stay in there? How did it get in there? Did it just crawl in? Or maybe like the song, raindrops keep falling on my head. Maybe the raindrop fell on its head. Bloop. Let's see what you've said. A beetle, a caterpillar, a ladybird, an ant or a caterpillar, a ladybug. I always like that. A ladybug, a ladybird. I wonder which you prefer, bugs or birds. A bird, says Volko. It's me, the creature I'm looking at is myself. A caterpillar, a tadpole, an ant, a ladybird, another ant, a snail, a caterpillar, a ladybird, an ant. Now, it was interesting because if you were to teach biology, it couldn't be an insect, could it? It couldn't be an insect, or it can't be an insect, because insects can't survive inside or underwater. They breathe through these things called trachea. So it can't be an insect. Could it be a bird? That's an interesting one. Do you think there's any birds that are small enough to fit inside a raindrop? It's a very interesting idea. Now, let me just share with you a little trick here. I am not actually looking at an image. I was reading from a text. This is very important. The key to picture telling is to prepare your text. So work with your text, or rather I should say, work with your image. Think about a text. This is one of the things I think that teachers often do. They work with images, prepare lesson plans, but I think it's easy to forget that there is no image without a text. And picture telling forces you to realize that. Let me show you my text. Here's my text. So I wonder if any of you suspected that I was actually reading from a text. I'm going to guess that you didn't, although maybe you did. But the idea was you should have thought I was looking at a photograph. But, I was reading from this text. The great thing is it makes your job easy as a teacher. And there's this thinking task. Would you like to see the image? Let me show you the picture. This is a picture that I got from the Guardian, the photography section, wildlife photography section, and it looks like this. So some of you got this right, I think. Opportunity just to finish my coffee there. And it's funny, isn't it? Because somebody said a tadpole, somebody said a frog, and Volkova asks, how can frogs breathe underwater? And that's a very good question. And frogs are amphibious, to give you an adjective. If we want to use the noun, frogs are amphibians. And amphibians can breathe underwater and also in the air. So they have these two abilities. Frogs can breathe underwater and they can also breathe on land. And yes, Gulnara was right, so well done. So what we just did there was a picture telling. A picture telling is putting an image into words, communicating the narrative of the image as a storyteller would. Now, it's very easy, I think, to associate images with descriptions. And often, the images that language teachers use are kind of designed for that, describing. We all know what picture dictations are, don't we, right? So students get into pairs, A, B pairs. Student A has to describe, it's always describe an image to student B. Student B has to listen and draw it. And the image is often maybe a house with everything in place, so you can talk about on the left, on the right, at the top, at the bottom, in the background. And the thing is that these images exist for teaching very specific language points. Now, images in the real world don't come like that. Images in the real world come like this. And there's more to an image like this than a description. And this is really, really important. Because picture telling is not just about describing. Picture telling is about putting into words a narrative. So, of course, there will be elements of description. There will be elements of describing what you see. But did you notice how I got involved in a sort of a story, a narrative, starting to contemplate what's going on here? My wonders, I wonder how it got in there. I wonder if it's happy. These things. And this is very important because you cannot ever just reduce a text about an image to some objective reconstruction, descriptive reconstruction of the image. That's not how image works. There's a follow-up here, a very simple follow-up, and this is a very important follow-up. You have to give students copies of your picture-telling text. You can draw attention to this language. They look like, it looks quite happy. Maybe, perhaps, I wonder, which is language marked for speculation, isn't it? I'm not going to focus on models of deduction because I'm not a fan of models of deduction. I don't know why we always have to focus on models of deduction. I prefer to talk about language for speculation and just open things up a bit. And students then have to go online for homework, find a wildlife photograph that they like. There's so many great ones online. And then they themselves prepare a text like this to use in the classroom. So they come back into class, they get into groups, they picture tell their chosen pictures to each other. Maybe they can ask their peers, their classmates, to guess what the mystery animal is, although that's not completely necessary, but they can if they want. And then they show the image. So it's a very basic idea. And when I talk about using story, when I talk about teacher-led storytelling, this is the format. It's a story, starts with the teacher, based on a theme. You use the story, provides a model for the text, a pretext. Then students, based on that theme, have to find or source or recognize a story of their own, prepare it, and that is the task for students. So it's always story from the teacher, story prepared from the learners. So that is the first activity. Hope you enjoyed it. This is in the lesson, the handout for you. I'm going to ask Eva. Eva, would it be possible at this stage to drop the link that I gave you into the chat? In the chat, Eva, there you go. There's Eva's just put my link into the chat. Now, if you click on this link, or if you copy and then paste it into your browser, it's an invitation for you to sign up to my lesson stream membership and get my Sunday emails, and most importantly, download the handout which contains that activity. So feel free to do that now, and you can let me know if it works. All right, how does that sound? So let's move on to activity number 2. Activity number 2. Just before we get involved in activity number 2, just 2 things to say. Number 1, does anyone have an iPhone like this? Does anyone remember when Steve Jobs introduced iPhones to the world? I think it was 2008. You know, this product of the decade. And he introduced iPhones to the world, you know. Now, what Steve Jobs did not do when he got onto that stage, he did not click onto the screen a picture of an iPhone and then describe the iPhone and tell everyone how great it was going to be. He did not do that. He got onto the stage, there was no image on the slideshow behind him, and he got the audience curious. He told them they were there for this product of the decade. He told them how fantastic this thing was going to be. He didn't tell them what it was, but he told them what it could do. Everybody was curious. And then he told them, you are going to see the iPhone. Did I say iPod before? If I did, that was a mistake. The iPhone. And at this stage, everybody in the audience, everybody there wants to see it. Steve Jobs is withholding the image. And this is a really important thing for teachers to learn from, you know, and presenters. Presenters can often let the images lead the slideshow. Sorry, the images lead the presentation. Don't ever do that. You lead the presentation. As a teacher, always consider withholding the image. You might just be able to teach a little bit of language and get your students even more curious and engaged. Awesome. Now, activity number 2. I wonder if any of you know who these people are. I'm going to ask Eva if she could maximize the slideshow, please, so that you can see this pair of lovebirds. This is, I think, one of the greatest love stories from the world of art. And I wonder if anybody knows who this man and this woman are. It really is a truly awesome love story. And it's almost inspiring to fall in love yourself one day. Anyone here in love today? What do you think they do for a living? How long do you think they've been together? Do you think they're married? Or do you think they're boyfriend and girlfriend? What do you think she does for a living? What do you think he does for a living? What kind of backgrounds do you think they're from? You know, these are questions you can ask your students, but you've still not. I'm looking at your chat here. I know there's a 10-second delay. A painter and his muse, says Hend. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. But which is which? Is she the painter? Is he the muse? Or is he the painter and she's the muse? We can't assume, can we? TJ, give it a few. It's just said you've signed up but didn't give the handout. Sometimes it can take a few minutes. So let's see give it a few minutes, and if it's not there with you after that, then we'll sort it out. Okay. This is Mark and Bella. Mark and Bella. I wonder if that means anything to you. And this is such a great story, I think. Such a great story, Mark and Bella. I just love it. You know, they were Russian-born Jews. Well, say they were Russian-born Jews. They were both born in Vitebsk, a little town in modern-day Belarus. But back in those days, it was part of Russia. And Bella came from a very wealthy family. Mark came from a very poor family. When they met, Mark was a penniless artist. And the thing is that when they met, you see, it was love at first sight. It was dynamite, you know. But, you know, Mark coming from a penniless family or being a penniless artist, and Bella coming from a very well-off family, her father was a jeweler, you know, Bella's family was not happy at all with this situation. They did not approve. Anyway, it didn't matter because, you know, they got it on. They got it on. They got it on. And they fell in love. 1910, Mark went to Paris for his work. He was away from Bella for 4 whole years. Can you imagine? But he thought about Bella day and night. And in 1914, he returned to Vitebsk and they got married. And I'm going to show you another picture. If I could ask Eva to maximize Jamie, please, Eva, so that you can all see me and me alone. Apologies, I might say. I'm going to describe another picture to you of Mark and Bella. And I just want you to listen here. Listen and allow me to allow the kind of the image to form in your mind, in your mind's eye. Okay, it's a very simple picture, this one. It's so you've seen the first picture. You've seen Mark and Bella looking lovingly into each other's eyes. Now, in this second picture that I've got on my phone that I can see, but you can't, I would say it was a very colorful image. The first image was black and white. This one is a very colorful image. Lots of red, lots of green, lots of black and lots of white, but it's the red and it's the green and the white that are dominant, I would say. So it's very colorful and romantic. Now, Mark and Bella are in a room, and the room is in Mark's home. It's difficult to know if it's a bedroom, if it's a living room. I'm really not sure, but it has a red carpet and a white wall. You with me? Mark is wearing black trousers and a green jumper. Bella is wearing a black dress with a white collar, just like the one you saw in the photograph a moment ago. So Bella's wearing a black dress with a white collar, and she's holding a bunch of flowers. Now, let me just describe this to you. See, Bella is facing left and Mark is facing right. Bella has 1 foot on the floor, only 1 foot. It looks like she is taking off, leaving the floor. Mark, well, Mark's feet aren't touching the ground at all. He's floating in the air. It's incredible. Mark is floating in the air and they are back to back. And they are kissing. Now, this is what you call an impossible kiss. Were you able to visualize the image that I just described to you? Were you able to imagine it as I conveyed it to you through my picture telling? It's an impossible kiss. Now, something that I'd like to do with this in the classroom is invite students to draw it. They've heard the description. I'm not worried about referring to this as a description because the text was more of a description than a narrative. So students have got the description and they've now got to draw it as they imagine it, taking into account this impossible kiss. I'm going to ask Eva here if she could maximize the slideshow, please, so that everybody's going to see my text. So here's my text. This is the one as before. I was reading it from my iPhone. I can still do this because my eyesight's not too bad, but I think give myself another year or two, I'm not going to be able to read texts from my iPhone very well because of my eyesight capabilities, But this is the image, a second picture, very colorful, lots of red, lots of green, lots of black, lots of white, colorful and romantic. Mark and Bella are in a room in Mark's home. It might be a bedroom, it might be a living room, I'm not sure. It has a red carpet and a red wall. You see how much language of speculation comes up when you do picture telling. And it's essential to realize that, but I implore you, I absolutely beg, don't ever feel that you have to make it all about, let's say, models of deduction. It will always be a part, but it's so much more than models of deduction. It might be this, it could be this. Perhaps it looks as if, it looks, I wonder if, maybe. There's all this kind of language. I would imagine that. This is very speculative. Sorry, that was a digression. So it might be a bedroom, it might be a living room, I'm not sure. It's a red carpet and a white wall. Mark is wearing black trousers and a green jumper. Bella's wearing a black dress with a white collar, just like the one you saw here. She is holding a bunch of flowers. Bella's facing left, Mark is facing right. Bella has 1 foot on the floor. It looks like she's taking off. Mark's feet aren't touching the floor at all. He is floating in the air. They are back to back. They are kissing. It's an impossible kiss. It's a romantic kiss. I'd like to let you see a few images or drawings that have come from. Now, I mentioned to you that I have a community of teachers called the Lesson Stream membership. I'm going to tell you a little bit about it in a little while, just before we finish. And the Lesson Stream membership is a community of teachers, and I share lesson plans on a weekly basis and invite teachers to use them with their students and report back. And this is one of the lesson plans that was used. And one of the teachers called Jeremy used it with his students, and he has shared some of the images, some of the drawings that came back from his students. So let me show you some of their impossible kisses. This one on the left, it looks like two snakes, doesn't it, with twisty necks? And this one on the right is very interesting. This is a recurring theme. When you ask students to draw that description, something they do quite a lot is to give Mark and Bella these sort of kissing tubes. Kissing tubes. Who would have thought? kissing tubes. Maybe kissing tubes is exactly what we need in these times of social distancing, so you can kiss your loved one or loved ones from a distance. Kissing tubes. This is good. I like the one on the left. The student claimed that they were just imagining they were kissing. They weren't really kissing. They weren't kissing physically. They were just imagining it. And on the right, teachers are supposed to have eyes on the back of their head, but in this case, they've actually got faces on the back of their head or mouths on the back of their head, so they can stand back to the back and they can kiss. Isn't that great? Wouldn't you like to have two faces? If you're Gemini, like I am, maybe you do. This one on the left is really cute, isn't it? They look a bit too young, but I do like it. On the right, we've got more kissing tubes. I told you it was a recurring theme, didn't I? Then we've got long necks again, like birds, maybe like, I don't know, ostriches. And on the right, more kissing tubes. Kissing tubes. I'm going to patent kissing tubes, I think. Maybe sell them as a little side business. Maybe I've missed the boat. Maybe kissing tubes would have been popular this time last year, but not anymore with the vaccination. Who's to say? This is very clever, isn't it? Look at that. Looking in the mirror. Kissing. I didn't say they were physically kissing. So here they're just blowing each other kisses. And I'm not quite sure what's happening in this right-hand side image, but I do like it. Anyway, would you like to see the image that I described? Let me show it to you. Here it is. Oh, no, there's one more. Sorry. They're kissing. Again, they're kissing themselves in the mirror. Oh, yeah, sorry. I forgot there was... This is probably the one that comes closest to the actual image I was describing, which is this one. That's it. What do you think of that? Isn't that fantastic? Did you all guess that I was describing a painting? Or did some of you think at the start I was describing a photograph? Because I suspect that maybe some of you thought I was describing a photograph because I didn't tell you it was a painting. So you were thinking photograph. If you were thinking that, that was the idea. So you start to think, wait a minute, this isn't possible. And then maybe you thought, wait a minute, this is a painting. In paintings, anything's possible. So yes, Pinar says creative ways of kissing, and that's what this is, a lesson plan on creative ways of kissing. Hend, I love it. Love lifts you up. Cosmic. The man is about to leave his soul. This was Mark and Bella truly were great lovers in time. Yes. Somebody said they couldn't click on the link that I shared. You have to actually copy and paste it. So click on it, copy it, and then paste it into your browser. I noticed the same thing. Yes. Okay, one last activity. Who said remember the fishbowl? That's Thalia. Tamar's bursting into laughter. So I meant to mention, I don't think I did, that this is Bella oh my goodness, my mind's gone blank. Marc Chagall is the painter and Bella is his writer wife, who was his muse and was his wife. And I don't always know if she was his muse, because Chagall said time and time again that his inspiration for his art was their love. It wasn't her, it was their love, which I think is a very lovely idea. And yes. Don't worry, if you didn't get the link, we'll sort that out at the end, okay? Rizalin, sorry if I've not pronounced your name correctly. So there's a great story behind this picture. I'm not going to tell you what it is. We're going to move on. Just know that even here, we've just touched the tip of the iceberg in this idea, this story here. Right. Okay. On to the last story here. Whoops. On to the last story. And the last activity, and this is a story about a terrifying chicken. A terrifying chicken. And I do hope that nobody has any phobias about terrifying chickens, do you? If anybody here is scared of terrifying chickens, then maybe you want to leave. Don't know. I don't want to be responsible for giving you nightmares. Okay? But it's the risks we're going to take. All right? So if you're going to stay, it's at your own peril. Okay? I've warned you. All right. Let me tell you that this story involves these 5 things. Number 1, a terrifying chicken. Number 2, a terrified girl. Number 3, July 1983. Number 4, a quiet village somewhere in France. And number 5, a mean big brother. Now, these are what I call story items. And this is a technique. I'm sure you've seen this before. I know you've seen this before. A very simple one. You select a few key things from the story. Things can be people, places, objects, ideas, utterances, things that are central to the content of the story. No more than 5, I would say. Give them to your students and you ask them, what do you think happens in my story? And I'm going to ask you to do this. I'm going to actually ask you, or I'm going to invite you, rather than just guess what happens in my story, I'm going to invite you to ask me questions. I want you to work out what happens in my story by asking me questions, and just type your questions into the chat. All right, so ask me questions. Unfortunately, I'm one of these teachers that has this condition that means I can only answer yes or no. I'm not sure what the name of the condition is. Yes or no cavitis, maybe. But it's a serious condition that I've had ever since I started teaching. I can only answer yes or no. Great question here from Lali in Serbia. Does anyone die? I'm very, very happy to say that nobody dies in this story. So, Rizalin, it's an honor that you've stayed up and not gone to bed yet. It's a big, big honor for me. Thank you so much for doing so. Tamar, is it George Orwell related? It may be George Orwell inspired, but I don't think it's George Orwell related, Tamar. Great question. Did the big brother want to frighten his sister? No, not specifically, no, but maybe he was quite happy when it happened. Was the girl terrified because of the chicken or the brother? The girl was terrified of the chicken. Let me just tell you that the big brother may have been mean, but he was not terrifying. Did the brother want to scare his sister? Again, not specifically. Is the girl terrified of a snake? No, there are no snakes in this story. Is it Animal Farm? That's why you're asking about George Orwell, Tamar. No, it's not. Does the brother terrify his sister by chicken? By chicken. So that's like using chicken as a verb, which is a very creative use of the word chicken. I like it. Yes, terror by chicken, we could say. But I think the big brother didn't cause the terrifying chicken to be part of the story. He just took delight in it. Who made the chicken terrifying? I would say it was the great creator of chickens, the god of chickens, I would say. Did the brother... Okay, take a moment. If anyone wants to actually take a moment to type in, to compose the story as they imagine, and I will be very happy to tell you if you're right or wrong. If this was if you were here right now, this would be an invitation for anybody to share their prediction, a predictive narrative. What do you think happens in this story? Nobody in the story eats the chicken, Gulnara, and maybe the chicken got eaten, but at a later date. So let me show you. What you see right now is what I refer to as story items, maybe 3 or 4, in this case, 5 phrases or words or things. It's all about the story content. What you're going to see in this next slide is all about the story text. This is, or I should say, these are phrases that come from the story text. And I'm going to right now demonstrate a technique, one of my favorite techniques. And you can use this with virtually any short narrative text that you want to use in the classroom. What you do is you isolate a number of phrases from the text, give it to your students before they read the text or before they hear the text. That's what I've done right now, so you can see my phrases. And now I'm going to read my text to you, my story, and I'm going to pause when I get to the phrases and invite you to film them. Okay. Now, this is not really going to work as it usually would because of our time delay. All right. But don't worry, it will still allow you to get an idea for the activity. So let me just tell you this story, as I mentioned before, takes place in July 1983. I wonder, can anybody here guess how old I was in July 1983? Was the chicken organic? I'm going to guess that the chicken was organic. I'm still laughing at your questions here. Yes, it very much was a naughty chicken. So, July 1983, I was 11 years old. 11 years old. So now you know when I was born. I was, and now you know how old I am now. Anna's said 5. Henda's said 3. I was 11 years old, so I'm very happy to tell you that I look younger than I am. So I was 11 years old, and I told you that I'm Scottish, and I'm from Edinburgh, and I'm not sure why, but every summer we used to go on holiday to France. It's true. We used to go on holiday to France. Olga, yes, this story is about me. And we used to go on holiday to France. So July 1983, I was 11 years old, and I was on holiday in France with my family, with my mum, with my dad, with my little sister, Susie, who was 9 years old, 2 years younger than me, and with my little baby brother, Alistair, who is still a baby to me, although he's now grown up, you understand. Now, I was starting to get Now, you're probably thinking, what's gone wrong with Jamie? Is he mad? Yes, I am, maybe, but this is a gesture which means fill the gap. So what you have to do is you have to take a gap from the board, from the screen that you can see in front of you right now, type it into the text chat, press return, and let's see who can fill the gap in the right way with the right phrase. So let me say it again. July 1983, I was 11 years old. I was on holiday in France with my family, my mum, my sister, my dad, my baby brother, and I was starting to get. Now, Zen has said shocked, Anna has said walking, but you have to choose your phrases from the screen. So these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 phrases you can see right in front of you right now, from walking through a village, a terrifying situation, etc. You have your answers have to come from one of those phrases you see. But look, learning English with Mrs. T has got the right answer. She has said, and so has Olga. And into photography. That's right. So I was starting to get into photography. It was my new hobby. I had a new camera, and I was sometimes I just wait and don't do anything else. In this case, I've got to wait and add 10 seconds onto the top because of the time delay. But I'm not scared. I'll wait. Yes, you've got to be careful when you do this. Don't hit yourself too hard. It can hurt. Yeah. Also, pay attention to your intonation, because if you were to say, I had a new camera and I was, That sounds strange, doesn't it? You've got to indicate there's something next. So I was starting to get into photography. Yes, I had a new camera and I was exactly, I can see your answers. Well done. Taking photographs of everything I saw. This was my new hobby and I loved it. Now, there was one day during our holiday when we were walking. No, I've made a mistake. I'm going to say that again. Now, there was one day during our holiday when we were, and I'm going to give you the answer. The answer is walking through a village. Well done. You all got it. I'll give you that one. So one day during the holiday when we were walking through a village, and in the village square, you'll never guess what there was. There were in the village square, there were in the village. Ivana might have mistook what I said for they were, but I said there were. So if it was they were taking photographs, you could say, but it was there were some chickens, says Siobhan. Exactly. There were some chickens. There were some chickens. Now, suddenly, for no apparent reason, we don't know why, but the chickens the chickens ran towards my sister and surrounded her. Now, for my little sister, this was a terrifying situation. She thought that the chickens were going to attack her. And she started to cry. You see, terrifying chickens. Now, for Big Brother Jamie, this was my big opportunity. Possibly my entry into the world of photojournalism. So, as quickly as I could, I took out my camera and took a photograph of the scene. My little sister and the terrifying chickens. Unfortunately, only one terrifying chicken made it into the shot. But let me just think. She was 9, I was 11, 47. 37 years later, my little sister still hasn't forgiven me. And that's the end of the story. But there's something missing, isn't there? There's something else to come. Am I right? You would like to see the photograph, wouldn't you? I know, because this is an image that depends on a photograph. Just before I show you the photograph, a little bit of theory here. I was reading from a text. So when you read from your text, it's absolutely essential that you do so, that you do read from a text, and don't remove the phrases. You have to remove the phrase. You have to keep the phrases in the text. Underline them, bold them, highlight them, do whatever you like, but you have to know specifically what the phrases are. When you approach the phrases, you pause and invite students to fill the gaps. So it takes some practice, this. So do practice in advance and try this for yourself. What I suggest that you do, I think that every teacher has to take their favorite photograph and create an activity like this. Find a picture with a story behind it. It doesn't have to be a remarkable story. It can be unremarkable, but as long as it's meaningful, it will be an experience worth sharing and students will enjoy it. So you can start with this first technique. You can start with story items. You can move on to this second technique, which is what I call a storytelling gap fill. And finally, maybe you can show students the image. And the image looks like this. I wonder what you think about this. It's funny, isn't it? And I've always wondered, I told you that I only got one of the chickens. All the other chickens are outside the shot. But what's it doing? What's its motivation? Why is it so into, if I was into photography, why is this chicken so into my little sister? One of my students once suggested that maybe it's because my sister was wearing a t-shirt that says hello, and maybe this chicken was learning English. Don't forget, this is a French chicken, and it was just wanting to practice its English. I don't know. But anyway, students then, yeah, I'm sorry, Thalia, I am a mean big brother, aren't I? So students then have to go away, find a photograph from their life, a photograph of the story. They have to write the story using this as a model. You can see that it uses narrative tenses, narrative past, past simple, past perfect, past continuous, and then they have to write a story of their own, come into class, share the story with their peers, with their classmates. Maybe they can show the image first, then tell their story, or sometimes the image and story work better the other way around, so you tell the story first and then show the picture. It all depends on the image and the story, you see? I really did. She still hasn't forgotten. She still hasn't forgiven me. Yes. And Siobhan says, I'd like to hear the chicken side of the story. I would too. I suspect that the chicken was turned into chicken McNuggets. Anyway, when you're working with an image, always remember, no image without a text. There's a story. Maximize the language. Don't do this, which is what I used to do with this image. I used to think it was great to cover up the chicken, show it to my students, ask them to guess what's underneath it. It was fun. Students were curious, absolutely without a doubt, but there was minimal language. It was minimizing the story. It was not exploiting the story. So students may have been motivated and curious, but there was very, very little language. So don't do this, is what I'm saying. Use the story. Right. Those are my 3 activities. 2 of them are in the handout. There's actually a third mini one in the handout as well. Let me just... did you all get the link? We've got 3 or 4 or 5 minutes left, 4 minutes left. If you permit me, I would like to show you around my community. I mentioned, didn't I? This is called the Lesson Stream membership. This is not a Lesson Stream membership. This is a funny picture of the dog. This is the last activity. I wasn't going to do this, but it's in your handout. All right. So the Lesson Stream membership is a community that I run, and it says if you join, and it'd be lovely to have you one day. You get 4 things. 4 things. Now the first thing is we have webinars just like this one. We have maybe 2 webinars a month usually, in which I walk members through new activities, share ideas, teaching ideas. It's all very practical stuff, all story-based, lesson plans based on videos. Often we have guest webinars, of course, and often people from the world of story and storytelling, journalists, artists, poets. Last week we had the senior editor of Hello magazine online, Catherine Robinson, did a fantastic session. We were all celebrity journalists for the day. So those are the webinars. The second thing that we get is the courses. Most notably, what's coming next in the next few weeks is the long-awaited Lesson Stream story course, which is going to be a year-long course. You can work through it in your own time. It's a very easy to manage course. It's one very short video per week, plus something for you to try in your own classroom. There's 10 units, and one of the units, believe it or not, is on picture telling. So that's the courses. The most notable one coming next is the story course. The next thing you get, very important, is the lesson plan library. I upload a new lesson plan on PDF once a week, usually, not all weeks, but usually once a week. There are currently around 60 lesson plans. And when you become a member, you unlock all 60 of those lesson plans on PDF. So you can download them. And if you want to talk about them, if you want to share ideas, if you want to talk about your adaptations, variations you've made, if you want to even ask questions, or for example, share the images that came from your stories, the illustrations that came from your students, and the way I mentioned before, those illustrations I showed you before of the impossible kisses, you can share them with us in the community. This all takes place in the place that we call the fishbowl. Oops, I meant to show you this, didn't I? These are the story lesson plans, you see. So you can see there at the top right, there's the birthday. These are all picture telling activities. We've got frog in a raindrop. We've got the birthday. I think at the moment there's about 8 picture telling activities in the 60, but there's more to come. So yes, the fishbowl is the place to make friends. The fishbowl is a place to have conversations. The fishbowl is a place to ask questions, to network, to share ideas. It looks like this. It's a place to ask for help. If you want to talk about the lesson plans, this is a place to do it. If you want to take part in the courses and report back on the challenges I set, this is a place to do it. This is a place to share stories, ask for help when you're teaching, ask about English. Any language questions you have, this is a place to do it. Now, I've got a little offer for you. Let me just show you the prices. I know you think this is going to be very expensive. I'm very happy to say it's not. It's €8.99 per month, or it's €89 per year. So if you pay per year, you save 2 months. And I've got a little special offer for you. If you sign up before Sunday, and I would be lovely to have you on board, and we could meet again and we could work again. If you sign up before Sunday, I'll be very happy to give you a free copy of my ebook, Video Telling. And if you signed up with the link that I dropped into the chat, then all of the information is there. The link to the Lesson Stream membership sign-up page is included. And that's all I've got to say for this session. If you've got any questions, we've got 2 more minutes. I'm going to say a huge big thank you very much to all of you, and a big thank you to Eva, a big thank you to the Terrifying Chicken. Let's make sure that everybody got the link to the handout link, Eva. Did everyone get the link to the handout? Eva, would you be able to drop it into the chat just one more time? The handout link.
Yeah, I've just sent the link. And also I'd like you to know that tomorrow, all those who registered for the webinar, you will get a follow-up email and you'll get the link again. So please, no worries, especially there was a lady who worried a lot, so there is no worries. And if you have any questions, you can always send us an email, sr.teachinglearning@gmail.com. Yeah.
Great. So you'll get the link from Eva tomorrow, and you'll be able to get the handout, and you'll be able to sign up for my Sunday post and also get this offer for the Lesson Stream membership. Is that right? Great.
Yes. And I think that we can mention, if you're on Instagram, you can always find the speaker on Instagram. Just put
that's
the
a good
name.
idea. Yeah.
And you can contact the speaker and ask any additional questions concerning how to join Lesson Stream membership. And I want you to know that I'm the member of this Lesson Stream membership. So if you are there, just drop me a line. I'd like to talk to you there as well. And this is my to-do list for this lockdown Saturday and Sunday. So I think I'll be enjoying my membership there. So we can do it together if you'd like to.
Great. Yes, we've got a webinar on Sunday because I know you're a member, Eva. So maybe see you on Sunday.
Yeah, as you can see, we have so many things. Yes, guys, please come and join Lesson Stream membership. You can find all the information in that worksheet that you've got. And tomorrow you will get the link again. Just in case, if you don't get the link, please just contact me or contact sr.teaching on Instagram, or just you can write to Mr. Jamie Keddie.
Yeah. And yes, and Jamie Keddie, as Eva said on Instagram, just my name, JamieKeddie. And I would love to see you there. And yeah, we can chat there, ask me questions there. I'm always available and very happy for that.
Thank you for spelling your name, as we can see it on the screen right now. Okay, so thank you very much. Yes, I see so many comments. Thank you. I already signed but didn't get the copy yet. You will, just now.
Risa Lynn, how long ago did you sign up? If it was just a couple of minutes ago, it can sometimes take a few minutes. But if there's any problems at all, you can drop me a line either on Instagram, or can they get in touch with you, Eva?
Yes, you can
Yeah.
definitely get
So if
in
there's
touch
any
with me.
problems, I'll send you get in touch with Eva, and I'll send Eva the PDF handout, and she can pass it on to you. Okay?
Yeah. Will this webinar be available to watch later? Yeah, definitely. I'd like everyone to enjoy this wonderful session as I was enjoying all the comments, because sometimes I simply forgot to listen to the speaker because the comments were really amazing. Yeah, thank you for being so active today. Okay, we have to end this wonderful session, and fingers crossed one day Mr. Jamie Keddie will agree to join us again. Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you for being with us. Bye bye. See you.